Let me be honest with you. When I thought of making this video, I went on YouTube and started typing, how do I get a working student job in BMW? And I got no results showing or telling me how do I do that. There are many YouTubers who make videos on Germany, and there was not a single video, to be honest, where I found out, okay, it was showing me a right information. So then I thought, okay, now I'll make one on this. So I have a friend of mine with me who is working at BMW as a student, and we are going to cover in this video information about how is it like working there, or maybe how do I get into that, or what are the tips maybe he can suggest, or he can tell, okay, these are the things, or these are the things, or these are the ways through which you can get, or how is it like working there as well, things like that. So make sure you watch this video till the end, and if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, I would suggest you do that right away, because things like this or topics like this I cover every week and I post videos every week. So let's begin today's video, introducing my friend Pranav here. Pranav, why don't you start introducing yourself?
Sure. So hi everyone, I am Pranav. So I come from Pune. I did my bachelor's in mechanical engineering from VIIT Pune, and right after I completed my bachelor's, I came to Germany at Hochschule Ravensburg Weingarten for the master's course in mechatronics. So after completing my coursework, let's say for almost a year, I got an opportunity to do an internship at BMW here in Munich. And after my internship, I continued there as a master thesis student. So right now I'm doing my master thesis with BMW. Yeah, so far it has been a great journey for me.
Sounds great. I mean, that's why we are talking here now. So just to be clear, it has been like 6 months of working student that you said, and then now you are working as a master thesis.
Yeah, so let's be a bit clear on this. So it's internship position. So like there are two types of positions. Like one is working student and one is the internship positions. So according to my experience, it's a bit difficult to get a working student position at BMW. Like if you see, out of 10, 9 are internship positions. Right. Because when they are hiring working students, they look them for like a long-term basis, like for 1 year or 1.5 years. But for internship, it's just 6 months.
Yeah, so it was an internship first.
Right,
okay, right. So yeah, thanks for clarifying. Yeah, and that's what we are going to talk in this video. I mean, things like this, topics like this, I think they are more important for you to know if you are thinking of applying to BMW. So you did not have any prior work experience before after your bachelor's, right? You came directly for master studies.
You're right.
Yeah.
So, but during my bachelor's, I was research intern for 1 year at PIFR Mumbai. So, not work experience, but a good experience during my bachelor's. So, yeah.
Definitely. And just to light up things little bit, we both studied in the same university. So we came after I graduated from the same university, right? So let's start. How was the application process? Like, how did you start applying, or maybe how did you apply? How did you end up applying at BMW?
Okay, so I would say my background was a bit into the mechanical engineering side. So for a first few months, I was not applying. Because even if I wanted to apply, the skills would have been related to the mechanical engineering stuff, and I did not want to get again into the core mechanical engineering stuff like thermal or something like that. So I was quite clear that I needed some experience into the subjects I wanted to apply, like the robotics or the autonomous driving. And previously I did not have such experience. Right. So almost for the 2 semesters, I completely concentrated on the projects and the subjects, and then I started applying. So the most important advantage for me was when I started applying, I was pretty fresh and motivated. So, but for many others, they kind of started applying quite early, as soon as they came here. it is relevant when you are applying for the similar roles.
Yes.
For example, if you do your bachelor's in mechanical and doing your master's in, let's say, production engineering or something like that, it's the best decision when then you apply from the beginning. But in my case, I wanted to kind of switch the field, so it was really important to have a strong profile, so that if I get an interview, I should be able to answer the technical questions.
Definitely.
So I was in India when I was applying. So honestly, like, the application process during my internship was not really stressful for me, to be very honest. It was my 20th or the 30th application, and I got the interview invitation. So the interview process was also quite easy. So it was 1 hour long interview, and like 3 people in the panel. One was a PhD candidate, the second one was a full-time employee, and the third was the previous intern. So interestingly, we have this tradition in our department that the previous intern will also be a part of the hiring process for the next intern. Is not involved in the decision making process, but just to note down some stuff or to have a close look how the process is.
Yeah.
So coming back to the interview, it was mostly 60% technical and 40% non-technical questions, which I found very interesting, because they were seeing if I fit into that role or not. Once they have a clear base technical, when they see you are like kind of okay with the technical thing, they are like more looking into whether you are a right fit for their company or not. So mostly from the technical point of view, it was the questions related to projects I did, and in general how the autonomous driving is working and stuff like that. And for the non-technical, the questions were mostly situation based, like if I was giving if the employee was giving a presentation and he found some mistakes and stuff, and how will I react to those, and then some mental aptitude questions as well. So
were you surprised when you heard those kind of questions for the first time?
Yes, like to be honest, the first question was a non-technical question. So I thought it will be definitely an interesting interview, and they are looking something more than the technical knowledge.
Okay, what was that, if you can tell?
Yeah, so the first question was so you are hired for the position that we are looking for, and we go out in a park or something like that, and there are like 5 stones lying there, and I tell you to bring those stones. So will you bring those?
So what was your answer then?
Yeah, so so according to me, what they were checking is if you are like blindly following the advice given by the supervisor, or you have your own thinking or the reasoning behind it. So I told it's kind of a stupid question, because like to bring stones, it doesn't make any sense. But surely, like being if you are a supervisor, I will first question you like what is the necessity, and if I find it's convincing enough, then yeah, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, but I heard for these kind of questions, some people like get into really complex stuff, like something like programming, and they try to overcomplicate things. So this is also they are not looking for. If it is a simple question, you need to be giving a simple answer and a valid answer as well.
And I wanted to emphasize on one thing. That's a really good thing that you had mentioned before. That was, and I get a lot of questions from that particular side as well. If somebody has finished his degree in mechanical engineering and don't want to go into maybe core type of projects or core type of field, they want to switch. And what is important in this case is working on that field. If you are interested. So in your case, you were interested on robotics or maybe programming or software side. He took his time. That's what I wanted to emphasize on. You don't need to hurry yourself. Like, he did his projects. He spent 1 or 2 semesters working on projects, working on things he's more interested in, emphasizing or maybe focusing on his skills, which he can use those while answering the questions in interview. And I wanted to share one experience as well. Just yesterday I was meeting a colleague in my company, and he studied his mechatronics degree in University of Ziegen. And then he told me, he's from China actually, and he told me there was so many Indians in his in his batch that they were from mechanical background. And mainly if you are coming for mechatronics here, you will find that there are many mechanical people than the electronics guys. And that's what he told me, that those guys didn't know programming at all. I mean, since they studied mechanical engineering for their whole 4 years, there was no chance for them to learn C++, Python or things like that. Then they were good in MATLAB, but not in C++ or something. So he was telling me that those guys started learning from scratch. They were spending time on learning programming, and then they started applying to jobs which they were interested to apply. So that's what my point is. So if you are in a hurry, I would say spend some time on improving your skills first and then start applying. But yeah, it was good. I mean, once you started talking about it, I remembered that, and I thought of sharing this.
So mostly the thing which I've observed is the people fall into the peer pressure. If your friend is applying, you're also applying, then but you kind of need to have your own plan, and you also cannot afford to be too late for the applications. You need to just find that perfect spot whenever, like, if you need to ask a question, are you ready to answer the technical questions related to your field? If you get the answer yes, then you should go ahead. And regarding to my position as well, coming back to the position, my position, so it was something which was kind of a compulsory position, because there is a certain quota that you need to have certain number of interns in a particular department. So my position was a bit general position. They were not looking for something specific. We hired some of the students the next time, and those were kind of specific positions, and they were looking for some more technical knowledge. So for them it was like more towards the technical side. I would say 80% was technical, and then rest non-technical. So it also depends on what they are looking for at that time, I would say.
Yeah, it's a good point. And also, like, the thing is, it is possible. It's not like, if you are from mechanical background and you can't get into software, it is not like that. It is, if you put some efforts, right efforts into right direction, it is possible, right?
And one more thing I want to add is once your CV is shortlisted for a BMW interview or a big interview at OEMs, you have a really good chance, because when they shortlist, they don't shortlist huge number of candidates. So they are not taking interviews for 20 or 30 people. The number will be very less. So if you get shortlisted, then you have a really nice chance. And there are some there is this situation with many other interns that some full-time people took their interviews, and which were not too long. Those just lasted for like 15-20 minutes. I would say the reason behind that is, if you see their calendar, it's completely blocked. So they don't have that much time, but they have a lot of experience. So if they read your CV, they think, you are a perfect fit, and those 20 or 15 minutes are enough for them to judge whether you are fit for that role or not.
And so, it's a good insight there that many people don't even know.
Exactly.
I didn't know.
So three interns I met, like the interviews were like for a shorter span of time. So mostly if the PhD students are involved, the interviews last for a longer span of time. But if more full-time people are involved, then typically those are pretty short interviews, like they last for around half hour.
Now I wanted to ask, how was the transition now from internship to master thesis? How did it go for you? Like, Were you on the same team, or did you have to change teams
Okay.
or things like that? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I had two opportunities. One was with the neighboring department.
Mhm.
This also related to radar, and mine is related to radomes. So the first topic was mostly into the machine learning and radar stuff. The second was more focused towards the radomes, which I mostly did during my internship. So was again a gut feeling to go towards the radome topic. So yeah, but I was even trying for some other opportunities, but yeah, I was not quite lucky enough. But I was quite convinced with the opportunities that were lying in front of me. So like I had two choices and
Yeah.
seemed pretty convincing to go ahead.
Okay. So what I'm asking here is, if there is a possibility,
Okay.
you could continue in the same department, or maybe you have to change, or maybe start looking. So there will be some internal job positions through which you can know, okay, is there any other opportunity in different teams or other teams?
So
Yeah.
like you don't have really this internal portal, something like that, which you have in many companies for students at BMW. So either it is your networking ability that takes you to that position,
Okay.
or some recommendations. So two options with you.
Okay.
So you need to decide.
Yeah, we'll come to that part as well.
Yeah.
Many people would be interested to know how is it like working life at BMW, maybe as a student or as a general employee. But what would you like to tell us?
Yeah, so sure. So I would say it was really interesting working with BMW. The things which I liked the most were the work-life balance was really nice. As long as you do your stuff, you are never pressurized. You need to work certain number of hours or something like that. Obviously you need to complete the specified number of hours, but it was never like a stressful situation for me. As long as you do your stuff, it's completely fine. And then your thoughts were valued, or your suggestions were valued. That is very important, because even though I was working with people with very senior positions, like they had almost work experience equal to my age, or let's say like almost 50 to 60% people from my department have a doctorate, so still they valued me. That is the most important thing, because for them I'm like a kid. So and then during my internship I was pretty much involved in the testing as well of the radars and stuff. So my test vehicle was BMW X5. Then we used to accompany the other vehicle with it. So it was usually like say the 7 Series, or the XM, or some higher end models, which is not very common in India. So like such cars were pretty much accessible, and like almost in a week I had this one day testing tasks. So I was pretty excited for that day. Then I also visited some of the major plants for the production, like the Dingolfing, if I'm not wrong, it's like the largest plant for BMW in Europe. And then the plant in Landshut. Then we have also a test track at Asheim, where you kind of do various tests for suspension and stuff like that. But it was mostly related to radar calibration for me. And interestingly, like I sit besides a very technical expert for radars. So he is the one who decides like the strategies for the future radars. So he decides the specifications and the configurations for the next upcoming cars. So he's like kind of a bridge between the radar experts and the management. So it's so interesting to work with people which kind of have impact on like upcoming
Exactly.
BMW cars.
Yeah.
And like one interesting thing also to add, I was so a few weeks ago I was at headquarters. There I met few of the interns, so they had an opportunity to meet the finance minister of Germany.
Hmm.
Then usually there the working culture is quite different. It's mostly the management or the finance related people working there. So when you are for a lunch, it's pretty much common that the person besides your table is like a vice president of Mini or
Wow.
something like that. So you kind of have crazy networking opportunities there. So yeah,
You have to take advantage of that. I mean, that's how I see it.
yeah,
You don't meet these kind of people every day,
exactly.
and if you got an opportunity for
Yeah.
things like that, you got to take it.
Yeah.
I would say like that.
Yeah.
And I have to ask this now: do BMW employees also get cars for use? Can they use it? How does it work?
Yeah, so usually they can take or like certain cars on weekends, but it's mostly for the testing purpose. Yeah, but it serves both your job also and the testing job also. For
Yeah.
example, if you want to go out on a trip somewhere, just you take the car, but it's important that you drive it certain number of kilometers, so they
Right.
also have
Yeah.
a valid data for testing then.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, my perception was like that, and I asked in my previous video as
Yeah.
well, where I made a video on Mercedes, and I got the same thing there as well. Like these vehicles are like test vehicles.
Yeah.
You're allowed to take it, you sign it, and you take it, but
Yeah.
then it records the data
Yeah.
on the streets.
Yeah.
Okay. Now let's come back
Mhm.
for our audience here. If they want to get a job at BMW or maybe start a job as a working student or get a internship at BMW, what kind of tips would you like to
Yeah,
give
sure.
to them?
The most important thing is just keep on applying. That is the biggest tip. So be as much as role centric you are. Like the application should involve certain keywords, but there is no guideline that the certain application will be selected in for that position, because there are many steps involved in it, and who is the hiring manager, what are his preferences, what is he or she looking for. So it varies person to person.
Yeah.
So depends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So even if you get rejected, they should also apply next
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
It's not a
So
problem.
it's not
Yeah.
a problem.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
From my experience with RVU, many of them had at least one call from Porsche, BMW, Audi, or Mercedes. Not all, but many of them.
Right.
So once you get the call, then it's in your hands.
Yeah.
How you grab that.
Exactly.
So yeah.
And also many people also wants to know, does university or having a certain GP or having a certain university matters? Do you think is it a case like that?
I would say it depends on the overall application, but if you say if you consider small factors, then yes, but always your projects or your certain experience can overshadow certain things, but the better the university or the better the CGPA is, always you have the preference, to be very honest, because out of 6 interns working at my 6 interns, or let's say students working at my department, 4 of them are from TU Munich. So it kind of depends. But rest others are from Hochschulers as well.
So don't lose hope. I mean, that's
exactly.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You don't have to think, okay, I belong from this university and I don't stand any chance. You have to apply.
Yeah,
that's what he
exactly.
said. You have to keep on applying. One way or another, I think somewhere at some point you might land there. Also, now in this case, also here the German language necessity. How do you think it is? Because BMW is very German company. They are like really uh, like stick to the roots. They have a reputation of to be known as really a German company. So there are what kind of things happen there? Like, are there any requirements for having a German skills or things like that? What do you see?
Yeah, so again, it depends on the hiring manager. BMW is very big company, so there are various departments involved in it. So the mostly what I have observed is towards the autonomous driving or the programming or these kind of jobs. The requirement is kind of lenient, but if you're like into the production jobs or it's related to like the involved in
Customers.
then it's important. But in my case, my German is B1 level. I have passed A2 exam officially, but like took courses for B1. So I'm not pretty that much confident for the work German, but I can manage day-to-day tasks. So for the tasks involved, in my case, they kind of switch to English for me. But if you have like the group meetings or something, or you go out for a lunch, it's always the German language.
Right. Yeah. It also depends on, you covered kind of that topic. If you are from not technical field, there is a high chance that you might need German language. And also there is this case nowadays with this, certain economic situation or job situation, or maybe freshers, it would be again advantageous if you have the German skills. I mean, I have been stressing this point for so long now, and each and every video that I make or each and every interview I take, there is this one situation where we stress this topic, or this topic comes that okay, you have to know German or you have to learn German. And again, I'm doing the same thing in this video as well. You should start learning if you don't right now. So after you finish your master thesis, you would you would start looking for a full-time job, right?
Okay.
So are there any chances for you to start working again at BMW, or how does it happen?
Most interesting question for everyone. So again, it depends on the department, I would say. Regarding my department, it's a bit difficult because it's mostly related to the supplier handling and stuff like that, which involves a lot of talks with suppliers. And usually the person which communicates from the supplier end is like pretty experienced. So if you are not that experienced in that field, then the supplier kind of overpowers you. And the hierarchy in BMW is quite parallel, so everyone has their own specific tasks. And if you kind of do a mistake, there is no one to check it. So it is a very responsible position. It's not easy that they cannot afford to make mistakes, and it's a big problem. Then if it goes into the production, then
it's a
because because for like supporting roles, they have these external employees, but for internal positions, I would say it's not impossible, but very difficult. Like everything has to align. There has to be a vacancy, and there has to be the similar kind of vacancy in which you are doing your master thesis or you did your internship. Then there might be chances. But it's for specific to my department, but for other departments, the criterias might be quite lenient, so they might have an opportunity. So it depends.
But don't lose hope. Maybe after a few years or something, after having good amount of experience, you can again.
Sure. Like I also believe if you are like doing well, and if you believe in yourself, then you always land in a position where you deserve. So maybe it's not with just BMW, maybe it's with some different other company. But as long as you are happy doing your job, it's the most important thing for me.
Exactly. That's what matters. Cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. So I think we covered a lot of topics in this video. We tried to cover from how life is at BMW to how you get into it, how do you get into it. So thank you so much, Pranav, for all the details. And I think these kind of details will definitely help people if they are looking into, or they just want to know, how is the information, just for as an information video as well. So that's all in this video. And thank you again for coming on to this channel. If you have not subscribed to the channel, I would suggest you do that right away. If you like this video, share with your friends or family who wants to work at BMW. And that's all for now. I will see you again. Bye bye.